The need for VM awareness in storage extends to both storage, local replication, and remote replication use cases. Here, let's talk about remote replication. Recoverpoint is a simple and easy to use tool that works with all EMC storage and even in heterogeneous environments. In this latest version, what we've added is we've added direct vCenter API integration. So for example, here you can see that there are 3 consistency groups. Those are groups that are being replicated together as a consistent unit. But you'll notice that we've added this virtual centers icon directly in the management GUI. What that allows you to do is directly integrate with Virtual Center to integrate the views across the storage domain and the VMware domain. So for example, here we've got a Virtual Center environment that has 3 VMs. And those VMs are sitting on data stores in some fashion. In this example, they're sitting on 2 VMFS data stores, but it could be any relationship. And normally the relationship between where the VMs live, the data stores, the underlying storage units, and whether those VMs are actually protected or not would be kind of obscure. The VMware administrator has no idea what the underlying LUNs are, and the storage administrator has no idea whether those LUNs are being replicated and what VMs are being replicated under that relationship. Also notice that here we have 2 Virtual Center environments. So this integration can happen across large-scale environments that have multiple Virtual Center or vCenter instances. So here in this second one, we've got another VM that's sitting on 1 data store. That vCenter API integration is directly embedded into Recoverpoint 3.2. For example, here you can see that we've already configured those 2 Virtual Center instances, but if we wanted to add another one, it's simple and easy. You just provide the credentials and the IP address of the Virtual Center host, and again this works with Virtual Center 2.5 as well as vCenter 4, and you need to supply the credentials for a user that at a minimum has read-only access to the database, so it doesn't have to be an administrative user, although that's what we used here in this particular example. The benefit to our joint EMC and VMware customers is that now you do actually have the capability of seeing the end-to-end picture from a disaster recovery standpoint. Not only does Recoverpoint integrate with Site Recovery Manager, but now directly from within Recoverpoint you can see the relationships of the VMs to the data stores to the replication state and ultimately to the recovery point objective or RPO. So for example here within that Virtual Center environment you can see those 3 VMs we saw earlier. The green check mark means that they're actively being replicated to the remote site. You can see what consistency groups they're in, what replication set, and lots of details. But at a quick glance, you can see, is the VM protected, yes or no? And by the way, this also means if there's a green check mark that it can be placed into a Site Recovery Manager protection group. Previously, that sort of relationship would have involved the storage administrator and VMware administrator spending a lot of time with spreadsheets trying to correlate things. And the challenge, of course, is that one of the benefits of virtualized environments using VMware is that they're totally dynamic with vMotion and storage vMotion. So having a tool that can build those relationships dynamically on the fly by integrating directly into Virtual Center is a huge benefit. This can also help when troubleshooting setting up Site Recovery Manager plans. One common question that customers have got is, why can't I put this VM in a protection group? And the reason is that it's not protected. And if you wanted to see what isn't protected, you can see that directly here in the GUI with the big red X. So for example, if you had a VM that was sitting on a non-replicated data store object, it would show up with a red X, and you could either start to replicate that LUN, or you could storage vMotion that VM into a LUN that is being replicated. Recoverpoint's integration with VMware actually extends even beyond this Virtual Center API integration. You'll notice that you can identify host attach types. There's a VMware ESX specific setting that has some advantages in a VMware environment. And also, if you take a look at the replication topology, you'll see a couple things that customers have always loved about Recoverpoint. For example, the ability to use WAN compression for very significant savings, sometimes 7x or even more in terms of their WAN utilization. But we've introduced something very important and new: asynchronous and synchronous and dynamic replication. As customers replicate mission-critical apps, they want to have RPOs that are 0 in some cases. We've also done an additional feature requested by customers. In cases where Recoverpoint is being used by SRM, you can toggle between modes where it's being managed by Site Recovery Manager or being managed by Recoverpoint using a maintenance mode function that's a lot like VMware's maintenance mode. For example, here when it's being managed by a Site Recovery Manager, the storage administrator can't make changes to specific policy actions that Site Recovery Manager normally would control and manage. And you can see you can toggle it back where those functions now become available. EMC has always had incredibly broad support for Site Recovery Manager. Every protocol, every scale, every WAN topology, every RPO. But you can see through these deep integrations that we've done with Virtual Center APIs and vCenter APIs, building in specific SRM management and maintenance modes, how EMC and VMware are working together, in this case around the topic of disaster recovery and remote replication, to make sure that our technologies are simple, easy, and integrated. Thanks very much, and I hope you enjoyed this view of Recoverpoint 3.2 and its VMware integration.